The husband vanished during their honeymoon, leaving the wife bewildered and unable to comprehend what had happened. However, 70 years later, a woman appeared at her door, shattering her world with the revelation of the truth. It was the year 1954 when Tomas and Eleanor, two young lovers in their 20s whose destinies were intertwined, chose a spring day to solidify their eternal love. The ceremony, though simple, was brimming with love and hope, coloring every gaze and smile with the promise of a shared future. The selected venue was a quaint garden where flowers blossomed in harmony with the beginning of a new life for both. The vows exchanged under a clear blue sky transcended mere words. They were genuine seeds of dreams to be nurtured together. Finally, love. We will be together forever, they affirmed. Eleanor, dressed in a simple yet elegant white gown, exuded serene beauty, reflecting the light of the setting sun. Tomas, with a look of devotion and happiness, was modestly dressed, which did not diminish the grandeur of the moment. Close friends and family surrounded the couple, sharing in the joy and love that seemed to weave the air with threads of magic. What a beautiful moment it was. Love. The reception, filled with laughter and dancing, seemed like the perfect prelude to the many years of happiness that awaited them. However, fate, ever capricious, had other plans. The following morning, upon waking in the cozy little inn chosen for their honeymoon, Eleanor noticed that Tomas's side of the bed was empty. Initially, she thought he might have gone out to prepare a surprise, a typical gesture of his thoughtful nature. But as the hours passed, Tomas's absence became worrisome. After a few hours of desperate searching, Eleanor found a note in the drawer of her bedside table, written in Tomas's shaky handwriting. The words, "Forgive me, my love. Just know that I will always love you," plunged her heart into an ocean of confusion and despair. With no explanations and no farewells, those words echoed like a painful enigma. In the days, weeks, and months that followed, Eleanor tirelessly searched for any clue about Tomas's whereabouts. Authorities were alerted, and the small community mobilized in the search, but no trace of the man was found. The life of that poor young woman, which had promised to be a journey of love and companionship, transformed into a labyrinth of uncertainties and sleepless nights. Over time, the hope of reuniting with her husband faded slowly, leaving Eleanor with an emptiness that seemed insurmountable. Friends and family tried to offer comfort, but their words couldn't reach the depth of the pain she experienced. The letter from Tomas had become her only connection to him, a mystery she kept close to her heart, rereading it with the hope of uncovering some hidden meaning. Devastated and confused, the young woman sought answers that seemed non-existent. In the quiet of solitary nights, while the world around her slept, Eleanor immersed herself in thoughts of the past. The discovery of her pregnancy, which occurred in the tumultuous weeks following Tomas's disappearance, was a beacon of light in the darkness of her sorrow. However, this new life growing inside her also carried the weight of absence, a complex happiness tinged with sadness. As the years passed, Eleanor became a figure of strength and resilience. Motherhood transformed her in ways she could never have imagined. Raising twins, Jacob and Lily, on her own was not easy, but she devoted herself daily with unwavering passion and love. She saw Tomas's reflection in their children, not only in their physical features, but also in Jacob's insatiable curiosity and Lily's serene gentleness. In the quiet nights, when the house finally calmed and the twins slept peacefully in their rooms, the young mother allowed herself to delve into the memories of her beloved, missing husband. The letter he had left, with those words that tormented and consoled her, became her talisman. "Forgive me, my love. Just know that I will always love you." She repeated those words in whispers, as if they could somehow bring Tomas back, or at least offer a glimpse of understanding about his sudden departure. Eleanor kept the memory of her beloved alive through the stories she told her children. Tales of their adventures, their love, their hopes and dreams. She painted a portrait of a man who, though absent, remained an essential part of their lives. Despite her efforts to keep Tomas's light shining in their home, the shadow of his absence was a constant presence, an unanswered question that resonated deep within her soul. Why did you leave me? What did I do? The pain of loss, mixed with the weight of responsibility, was a burden Eleanor carried with dignity. She faced daily challenges with a steadfast determination, but in moments of sadness, grief found its way to the surface. Silent tears were shed not only for his absence, but for the injustice of having to face the world without her companion by her side. Each birthday of the twins, each milestone reached, was a reminder of what Tomas had missed, of what they had lost as a family. Eleanor wondered if the pain would ever cease, if the lack of answers would ever give her peace. But each morning, she rose again, choosing to face the world with love and hope for her children, for herself, and for the memory of a love that, despite everything, had never died. But one day, everything changed. 70 years had passed since that fateful day of her wedding. In the tranquility of a morning that promised to be like any other, Eleanor woke up feeling a restlessness she hadn't experienced in decades, something that stirred her heart and soul. Now, in 2024, at the age of 90, surrounded by the memories of a lost love and the legacy of a family built in the absence of that love, she tried to attribute this agitation to the anticipation of a great celebration. After all, her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren had promised a memorable party for her 90th birthday. However, deep down, she felt that this restlessness came from something deeper, perhaps a premonition that the past was about to reveal itself unexpectedly. The day passed in an emotional haze for Eleanor, a mixture of anticipation and nostalgia. When the time for the birthday celebration finally arrived, the house was filled with laughter, conversations, and the comforting warmth of family. However, just as they were preparing to celebrate, an unexpected interruption made time seem to freeze. The doorbell rang. Confused, Eleanor couldn't imagine who it could be. Crossing the room with slow but steady steps, she opened the door and found herself face to face with an unexpected figure, a young woman of about 37 years old. "Eleanor Diemer?" the woman asked, her voice carrying a mix of respect and excitement. She introduced herself as Emma, a historian, standing on her doorstep holding a package. Bulky with age, the package seemed ancient. Before the elderly woman could respond, the young woman continued, "I found these letters written by Tomas Diemer. He was your husband, right?" The words hit Eleanor like a wave, leaving her stunned. The letters in the stranger's hands seemed to radiate an energy that pierced through years of silence and longing. The room behind Eleanor was now quiet, her family watching the scene unfold with a mix of surprise and disbelief. The twins stepped forward, irritated. "Are you joking with our mother? Our father abandoned us," Jacob, now a 70-year-old man, expressed, reflecting the skepticism and pain that had marked the family for so long. Emma shook her head, a calm determination in her eyes. "You're mistaken. In these letters, you'll discover the truth," she said, her words resonating in the air, laden with the promise of long-awaited revelations. With trembling hands, the elderly Eleanor accepted the package and invited Emma inside. The ancient letters, sealed with the history and emotions of a bygone era, now promised to unveil the mystery that had defined her life. Tears welled up in her eyes, mingling with pain, hope, and a profound fear of what the letters might reveal. The family gathered around her, forming a circle of support and curiosity. They were about to uncover a past they thought they knew, a story about to be rewritten. As the elderly woman held the letters, a reverent silence enveloped the room, everyone aware that what was revealed could change everything they knew about the man who had left an indelible mark on their lives. The revelation contained in the ancient letters, now spread out on the living room table, enveloped the Diemer family in an hour of shock, sadness, and admiration. With hands still trembling, Eleanor read aloud to her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren the incredible story of the man they only knew as a distant memory, a figure whose absence had shaped their lives in unimaginable ways. What happened was something no one could have predicted. In the lines of those letters, Tomas revealed himself not only as the loving husband and brilliant scientist Eleanor had always known, but also as the discoverer of a compound capable of altering the atomic structure of matter, a breakthrough that, in the wrong hands, could be turned into a weapon of catastrophic consequences. He was an aspiring scientist, and Eleanor loved his inventions. However, when he discovered the interest of the Russian government in the 1950s, he realized that the imminent danger was not just for him, but for all of humanity. Through secret sources, he learned that the military planned to capture him, and the only option he saw was to flee on the day of their honeymoon. Knowing he would be arrested by the Soviet government, he explained in his letters how he made that decision out of desperation and love. Love for Eleanor, for the children he knew he would never meet, and for a world he wanted to protect. The escape during their honeymoon was the only way he could keep his wife safe and prevent his discovery from falling into the wrong hands. He left without goodbyes, without explanations, leaving behind only a note that failed to convey the depth of his anguish and sacrifice. For 40 years, Tomas lived in isolation on a deserted island. An exile, he chose to stay out of reach of those who might use his discovery for malicious purposes. During that time, he wrote letters to his wife that were never read, as a way to not feel alone, as if he were conversing with her intimately. He described his days of solitude, the agony of separation, and the enduring love that had driven him to make such a profound sacrifice. The nostalgia and pain of not knowing his children, of leaving his wife alone without knowing she was pregnant, weighed heavily on him. He imagined their lives, created dialogues and moments they would never share. He wrote about the growth of the children they could have had, the birthdays he would not celebrate, the milestones he would not witness. Each line overflowed with love and loss, offering a window into the soul of a man who sacrificed his happiness for the greater good. The last letter, found among the others, was different, unfinished, with Tomas's trembling handwriting, revealing a terrifying end. After decades of a solitary life, he was discovered by a military base. The final words, abruptly cut off, painted a picture of resignation and bravery in the face of the inevitable. He knew that being captured meant the end, but even in his final act, his greatest concern was to protect the world from his discovery. The historian explained that she had found these letters while working on a database of declassified documents. Tragically, after the Russian government captured him, 40 years after he had been on the island, they tried to force him to reproduce the compound, but he refused. "I'm sorry, but he was killed for not cooperating," Emma said, her voice heavy with emotion. She had been deeply moved by the story of love, sacrifice, and bravery, and felt it was her personal duty to deliver these letters to the only person Tomas had ever truly loved, Eleanor. As the reading ended, the room was engulfed in profound silence. Each family member was lost in thoughts about the magnitude of the patriarch's sacrifice. Emma watched as tears flowed from a family united not only by blood but also by the revelation of a love that transcended decades, a love so deep that it sacrificed itself for the safety of many. Eleanor, now elderly and surrounded by her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, held the letters from the love of her life tightly, as if they could somehow bridge the immeasurable distance that time and fate had placed between them. "He always loved us," she murmured, her voice breaking with emotion. These simple yet profoundly meaningful words resonated throughout the house, touching every heart present. The twins looked at each other, their eyes filled with tears. All their lives, they had interpreted their father's absence as abandonment, a wound that never seemed to fully heal. This new understanding brought a sense of closure, healing the pain that had lingered for so long. They questioned the love of a man who seemed to have chosen silence over his family, judging their mother for believing he was a good person. But the letters revealed a very different truth, a truth that shattered any lingering doubt or resentment. "Mom, began one of them, his voice trembling. "We're so sorry for all the years we doubted that Dad loved us." His words dissolved into sobs, emotion choking his voice. Lily then spoke up, completing the shared thought. "We doubted our father's love. We thought he had abandoned us, but he was protecting all of us. Oh God, how blind we were." Their mother, with a strength and grace that seemed to radiate from her, reached out, touching the faces of her children. "No, my dears, there is no need for apologies. How could we have known? How could we have understood the weight of the sacrifice he carried? He loved us more than we could ever imagine. He gave up everything, even the chance to know us, to keep us safe. That was my Tomas." Now gathered in a circle, the family shared tears of love and loss, moved by the beauty and tragedy of the patriarch's act of love. Each member of the Diemer family felt a mixture of sadness and pride, the pain of loss intertwined with admiration for a man who lived and died for such noble principles. The story of this scientist became known, and his courage and sacrifice would not be forgotten. Eleanor wished for his legacy to transcend pain and suffering, becoming a force for good. With the support of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, the idea of an organization to perpetuate her husband's values and dreams began to take shape. Thus, the Tomas Foundation was born, a beacon of hope and a symbol of unyielding commitment to the ethical use of science. The foundation had a clear purpose: to support young scientists who, like Tomas, believed in the power of science for the good of humanity and were aware of the dangers it could pose if misused. Through scholarships, affiliated universities offered mentorship programs and lectures on scientific ethics. The Tomas Foundation aimed to inspire a new generation of thinkers who put humanity above all else. Despite her advanced age, Eleanor was at the forefront of many initiatives, sharing her husband's story whenever possible. "Do not let the fear of what might go wrong stop you from doing what is right," was her motto, echoing the convictions her husband had lived by. These words, laden with history and meaning, deeply touched both young scientists and those who supported them. The Foundation's programs quickly gained recognition, attracting attention and support worldwide. The story of the couple, a narrative of love, loss, and redemption, became a source of inspiration, even leading to books being published about them. Thus, the legacy of Tomas Diemer continued to inspire, teach, and make a difference, ensuring that his story and the values he represented would resonate through generations. The tale of the two young lovers, separated by fate and marked by love, loss, and redemption, resonated in the hearts of all until the day Eleanor reunited with the love of her life. If you enjoyed this story, the next one appearing on your screen will also surprise and move you. A big hug, and I hope to see you in our next video.